Hello, church. For anyone who doesn't know me, I'm Ollie. I first want to just say thank you for all those who've been praying for me and my family at this time. We've really felt those prayers. And I really wanted to bring this message today, really. And I've had two verses on my heart for a while, which are quite opposite, really. One's from Nehemiah, which is the joy of the Lord is my strength. For all good evangelicals, you'll probably know that verse, or Pentecostals. And the other one is from from Matthew, and it's Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani, which means, my God, why have you forsaken me? And they are quite opposite, but I feel it's an important message to bring. I don't know where you're at the moment. Maybe you've lost stuff physically. Maybe you've lost someone close to you. Maybe you're in pain. Maybe you're just out of rhythm. I can tell you, and I'll be honest, just being vulnerable, that I feel in a strange place. I'm totally out of rhythm because of stuff. I feel I'm in quite a lot of physical pain because I've got a bad back, and it's just wearing me down, and then I'm in a lot of emotional pain from grief. And these verses have been on my heart. Just what does it mean to have the joy of the Lord? And what does it mean when Christ says on the cross, my God, why have you forsaken me? And I wouldn't necessarily say I'm in that place of saying, God, why have you forsaken me? But I'm definitely in a place that feels quite alone and quite isolating. Maybe some of you have been there in your life where circumstances around you just seem to surround you, where you can't see through that at the moment. Maybe you can't see what's going on, but it just seems to cloak you. I definitely would say I'm in a place of, where are you in all of this? And I was, deeply encouraged by a few messages from these devotionals. And I think sometimes in these times you just have to hide behind your shield of faith. As it says in Hebrews 10, it says, let us hold fast to the confession of our hope without wavering, for who he has promised, for he is faithful. And I've definitely been clinging on to that, and a bit like what Nick said a couple of weeks ago, it's like we have two ropes we have to have in each hand, one with victory and one with suffering. And I've definitely felt God's presence in this time, but I've also definitely felt that place of suffering, and it's a strange place to be in. And I think sometimes as churches, I'm not saying necessarily our church, because I think Nick does a wonderful job at this, but we can emphasize too much on what is joy, or in that message that Paul says of being content in all things. And I definitely feel like I can do all things with Christ who gives me strength. But I'm in that place of going, what does that look like? And there's a whole sentence he says before that he's learned to be content in all things. That's in Philippians 4:13. If you want to look at it, I can do all things with Christ who gives me strength. But I don't believe that contentment and joy is an equation of happiness. I think joy is knowing the hope that we have with Christ, no matter what, no matter where we're at, whether we've lost everything financially, whether we've lost someone close to us, but being able to cling on to those promises. And I think that contentment is the promise of peace within that, the promise of being able to hold on to all of those things. And I think it's really important to understand that if Christ can say on the cross, when he's being under the most unbearable strain, probably in the darkest point of his life, my God, why have you forsaken me? Then we can turn around as Christians and sometimes question, what the heck is going on here? Why is this happening? And I also believe when Paul is saying he's content, he isn't saying that he is happy. He's saying he knows the promises that God has given us, and that's how I feel right now. And I've definitely felt supported by you as a church. For those who've texted, and it's really, really meant a lot for me and Tammy. And I just thought these messages from Ecclesiastes stood out, and actually that God creates a time for everything, and I don't believe God creates suffering, but I think that we as humans can bring good things out of that. And it's 3:1-8, and it says, there is a time for everything, and a season for every activity under the heavens, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to scatter stones and a time to gather them, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. I think we all know how that feels at the moment. A time to search and a time to give up, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to mend, a time to be silent and a time to speak, a time for love and a time for hate, and a time for war and a time for peace. And I've been comforted by that. And I know it doesn't necessarily give us comfort, but I do believe there's times which are sometimes isolating and it can feel dark, but God is always there. He doesn't abandon us. His love is always there. And this message from Hosea, again, really, really encouraged me. Therefore, I am now going to lure her to the. I will lead her into the wilderness and speak tenderly to her. There I will give her back her vineyards and make a valley of trouble a door of hope, and there she will respond. And I don't know if you've caught Tracy's message a couple of weeks ago, but just stuck in my head, what is God saying to you at this time? And sometimes when everything, all the distractions around us are taken away, we can hear what God is trying to say to us. Sometimes it can just be that the message is He loves you no matter what, that you are good enough for who you are because you are good enough. But He loves you and He knows you, and He wants to speak to you even in times where you feel on your own, maybe you feel isolated, maybe you just feel like, what is going on? But the Lord is always with us, and that is His promise. He leaves. And I want to finish with just this message again. Let us hold fast to the confessions of hope without wavering, for He who has promised is faithful. Keep holding up that shield of faith if you're in that place like me, because He is faithful. Church, keep safe.